waking up at 3 a.m. again? And the strange part is, your body feels completely exhausted, but your brain suddenly feels wide awake. Not gently awake, but sharply alert, like something inside you just switched on without warning, and you're left there trying to understand what just happened. Almost alert, almost watching, like your mind is scanning something you can't see, like it's waiting for something that never comes. And even in the silence, there's a tension you can feel. Your body is still, but your awareness is not. Your eyes may be closed, but your brain is fully online. And that contrast is what makes it so unsettling. You try to fall asleep again, but your mind won't shut off no matter how hard you try. Your thoughts begin to accelerate without control. One thought leads to another, then another, then another, and the more effort you put into sleeping, the more awake you become. This isn't random, and it isn't just insomnia, because what's really happening at 3 a.m. is something most people have never been told. I'm Dr. Sarah, a sleep medicine specialist with a background in psychiatry. And over the years, I've worked with thousands of people facing this exact pattern. People who feel exhausted all day, but suddenly become alert at night. People who wake up at 3 a.m. and cannot fall back asleep no matter what they try. People who feel like their brain simply refuses to shut off when it matters most. And many of them start to believe something is wrong with them, when in reality, their brain is responding in a very specific and predictable way. If you're over 40, this experience can feel even more confusing because it often appears suddenly, without a clear cause. One night, you sleep normally, and then gradually things begin to change. You start waking up in the middle of the night more frequently. Your sleep becomes lighter, more fragmented, less restorative. And even when you do sleep, you wake up feeling tired and mentally drained, which leads many people to assume it's just a normal part of aging. But here's what's important to understand. This is not just about getting older or having insomnia, because many people who do everything right still experience this pattern. They follow routines, avoid caffeine, try to relax before bed, and yet their brain still becomes active at the worst possible moment, which suggests the problem isn't behavioral on the surface. It's something deeper happening inside the brain itself. Many of the people I've worked with describe the exact same feeling. They wake up suddenly, often at the same time every night. Their body feels tired, but their mind feels alert and active. Their thoughts begin to move faster, sometimes without any clear reason. And even when they try to stay calm, their system feels slightly on edge, like their brain has entered a state it can't easily exit. And that's where frustration starts to build. So they start searching for answers: how to sleep through the night, how to stay asleep all night without waking up, why their brain won't shut off when they need it to. And most of the advice they find focuses on surface-level solutions, things like routines, habits, or stress management techniques, which can help, but often don't fully resolve the problem. Because what's really happening here isn't just insomnia, and it isn't just stress or overthinking either. There's a deeper neurological pattern behind this experience, a specific state where the brain shifts into a form of nighttime alertness. And until you understand that mechanism clearly, everything else will feel like you're trying to fix the wrong problem. You don't wake up because you're bad at sleeping, and you don't wake up because you lack discipline or control. What you're experiencing is not a personal failure. It's not something you caused by doing something wrong, and it's definitely not your body betraying you, because your brain is actually trying to do something very specific, even if it feels frustrating and confusing in the moment. You wake up because your brain enters a protective state, a state that sleep science is only now beginning to understand more clearly, a state designed to increase awareness when something feels uncertain, even if there is no real danger present in your environment. Your brain interprets subtle internal signals as a reason to stay alert, and instead of allowing deep rest, it shifts your system upward, quietly moving you out of deep sleep without fully waking you. This shift is subtle but incredibly powerful. It doesn't feel like a full awakening at first. It feels like something in your mind has turned on. Your body remains still, your eyes may stay closed, but your awareness begins to rise beneath the surface. And within seconds, you're no longer in restorative sleep. You're in a state that feels unstable and incomplete. Not fully awake, but no longer deeply asleep. This in-between state is where confusion begins, because your body still feels tired and heavy, but your mind starts becoming active and alert. Your thoughts begin forming before you can stop them, and your system no longer feels calm or settled, which makes returning to sleep much harder than expected. This is where most people start to misinterpret what's happening. They assume they just need to relax more or try harder. They believe if they could just quiet their thoughts, they'd fall back asleep. But the truth is, by this point, the shift has already happened. Your brain has already moved into a different mode. And that's why traditional advice often doesn't work, because it's not addressing the actual mechanism. And once this state is activated, it begins to influence everything that follows. How alert your mind feels, how your nervous system responds, how easily your thoughts start to accelerate, and how difficult it becomes to return to sleep naturally, which raises a deeper question about what is truly driving this pattern. This state has a name, and once you hear it, things begin to make more sense, because it explains a pattern most people struggle to describe, a pattern that feels invisible but deeply disruptive, a pattern that keeps repeating night after night without a clear external cause, and yet follows a very specific internal logic. It's called the Neural Sleep Inhibition Response, a mechanism identified in modern sleep science, where the brain activates a form of nighttime protection, not because something is wrong, but because something feels uncertain. And when this response is triggered, the brain shifts its priorities from deep restoration to increased awareness, even if there is no real danger present. In this state, your brain begins raising alertness levels. It subtly increases cortisol activity at the wrong time of night. It signals your nervous system to stay slightly activated, and it interferes with your natural circadian rhythm, which is supposed to guide you into deeper stages of sleep, but instead your system becomes unstable and your sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented. And once this process begins, your ability to sleep through the night becomes compromised, not because you can't sleep, but because your brain won't stay in deep sleep. It keeps pulling you back toward awareness, interrupting the natural sleep cycle your body depends on and preventing full recovery from happening, which is why you wake up feeling tired even after hours in bed. But here's where it becomes even more important to understand. The real issue is not the moment you wake up, because waking up briefly during the night can be normal. The real issue is what your brain does immediately after, how it responds to that moment of awakening, and whether it allows you to return to sleep or not. Because once the neural sleep inhibition response is active, your brain doesn't simply go back to rest, it transitions into something else entirely, a state where alertness begins to rise instead of fall, where the mind becomes more active instead of quieter, and that shift is what determines everything that happens next. When the neural sleep inhibition response activates, your brain shifts into what can only be described as brain alert mode. Not fully awake, but no longer capable of deep rest. Your nervous system becomes more reactive to subtle signals. Your internal balance between calm and alertness starts to change, and the mechanism responsible for maintaining sleep becomes unstable, which quietly sets the stage for everything that follows. In this state, your sleep switch is no longer steady. It no longer holds you in deep, continuous sleep. Instead, it becomes sensitive and easily disrupted. Small internal changes can now trigger partial awakenings. Your system loses the ability to stay fully offline, and even normal sleep cycles begin to feel fragmented, as if something keeps interrupting the process from within. So when you wake up at 3 a.m., it's not just a random interruption in your sleep, it's the result of that internal shift already in motion. Your brain has already moved into a higher state of alertness, your body is no longer in deep restoration, and your system is no longer prioritizing sleep the same way, which is why the experience feels so sudden and confusing. At that point, your brain doesn't return to sleep easily because it's no longer operating in sleep mode. It is transitioned into a protective state of awareness where rest is no longer the priority. And instead of guiding you back into deep sleep, your system begins increasing mental activity as if it's trying to process or monitor something. This is when your thoughts begin to accelerate, your awareness becomes sharper and more active, your attention shifts inward, focusing on ideas, concerns, or random thoughts. Your body remains still, but carries a subtle tension beneath the surface, and even if you try to relax, something feels slightly off, like your system is resisting the transition back into sleep without giving you a clear reason why. And that's why you can't fall asleep again, not because you're doing something wrong, but because your brain is no longer in the right state to sleep. It has entered a mode that prioritizes alertness over restoration, and until that state is understood and addressed correctly, this cycle tends to repeat itself night after night. After 40, this pattern becomes more common, not suddenly, but gradually and almost unnoticed. One phase of life transitions into another, and subtle biological shifts begin to take place. Your sleep may still feel normal at first, but small changes start appearing in the background until they become impossible to ignore. This doesn't happen because something is wrong with you, and it doesn't mean your body is failing in any way. It simply means your biology is evolving over time. Your internal systems begin adjusting to new rhythms, and the balance that once supported deep sleep shifts slightly, creating a new sensitivity that wasn't there before, especially during the most vulnerable hours of the night. Your circadian rhythm becomes more delicate and responsive. It reacts more strongly to light, stress, and internal signals. Your cortisol patterns begin to shift in subtle ways, sometimes rising earlier than they should during the night. Your nervous system becomes quicker to activate, even in response to small, almost imperceptible triggers, and this changes how your brain handles sleep stability. As a result, your system becomes more reactive at night, less tolerant of disruptions that once didn't affect you, more likely to shift into alertness under mild conditions, and less able to maintain deep, uninterrupted sleep even when your environment appears calm and quiet, because the change is happening internally, not externally, and that makes it harder to recognize what's really going on. This is what makes the neural sleep inhibition response easier to trigger during this stage of life, and once it activates, harder for the brain to deactivate it because the balance between rest and alertness has shifted. Your system now leans slightly more toward vigilance, especially in the early morning hours like 3 a.m., where these biological patterns naturally interact. And this is why many people suddenly begin to struggle with insomnia later in life, even if they never had sleep issues before. They find themselves waking up at the same time every night, unable to fall back asleep the way they used to, and left wondering what changed so unexpectedly, without realizing their brain is responding to a deeper internal pattern. Think of your brain like a night security system, always running quietly in the background, constantly scanning for signs of safety or uncertainty, not just in your environment, but inside your body as well. It doesn't rely on logic, it relies on perception, and it makes decisions faster than you can consciously notice, especially when you're supposed to be deeply asleep. When everything feels safe to that system, your brain allows itself to fully power down. Your sleep deepens naturally without resistance, your nervous system settles into a calm baseline, and your mind finally goes completely offline. In that state, sleep flows without interruption. Your cycles progress the way they're meant to. Your brain doesn't feel the need to check or monitor anything. There's no internal signal pulling you back to awareness. Everything stays quiet, stable, and uninterrupted, and you remain asleep without even thinking about it because the system sees no reason to interfere. But when something feels slightly off, even if you can't consciously identify what it is, that same system begins to respond differently. It doesn't fully shut down like it normally would. Instead, it lowers the depth of your sleep and keeps part of your awareness active in the background, just enough to stay alert without fully waking you. This is when the system stays watching, not in a dramatic or obvious way, but in a subtle, persistent state of monitoring. Your brain keeps scanning instead of resting, your nervous system remains slightly activated, and your sleep becomes lighter and more fragile, making it easier for you to wake up during the night. The neural sleep inhibition response is that silent alarm running in the background, quietly influencing your sleep without your awareness. It doesn't feel like an alarm, but it behaves like one, keeping your system from fully letting go. And most people have no idea it's even active, which is why the pattern continues without a clear explanation. Here's the part most people miss, and it changes how you see this entire experience because it challenges the idea that something is permanently wrong. What you're dealing with is not fixed or irreversible. It's not a condition you're stuck with for life, and it's not something that requires extreme intervention, even though it may feel that way after so many restless nights. This isn't permanent. Your brain is not broken or malfunctioning. It's simply responding to signals in a specific way, and those signals can be adjusted and influenced over time because the same system that creates this pattern is also capable of reversing it once it begins to interpret safety again. And it's not something you need to force. You don't have to fight your mind or control every thought. You don't need to push your body into sleep artificially because forcing sleep often creates more resistance and keeps the brain in that alert state even longer, which is why so many approaches fail to create lasting change. Because your brain already knows how to sleep. It has done it naturally for most of your life. It understands how to enter deep restorative states. It knows how to maintain stable sleep cycles, and it knows how to keep you asleep through the night. But right now, something is interrupting that natural process, and that interruption is what needs to be addressed. What your brain really needs is to feel safe enough again to let go, to deactivate that internal alert mode, to reduce the neural sleep inhibition response, and to allow your system to return to balance, not through force, but through the right signals, the kind of signals your brain is designed to respond to. And this is where small physical cues begin to matter, subtle adjustments that most people overlook completely, like how your body is positioned while you sleep, how pressure, breathing, and alignment affect your system, and how these signals communicate directly with your nervous system in ways that can either reinforce alertness or promote calm, which raises an important question about what your body might be signaling right now. The goal isn't sedation, and it's not about shutting your brain down artificially, because that approach ignores the real mechanism behind the problem. What you're experiencing isn't a lack of sleep ability, it's a state of nighttime alertness that needs to be regulated, and forcing sedation doesn't resolve that underlying pattern. It only masks it temporarily without restoring true balance. The real objective is to support your brain so it can naturally shift out of that alert state, to lower the neural sleep inhibition response over time, to stabilize cortisol levels during the most sensitive hours of the night, to bring your circadian rhythm back into alignment, and to restore the stability of your natural sleep switch so your system can maintain deep, uninterrupted sleep again. This process is not about adding pressure. It's about removing the signals that keep your brain on edge and replacing them with signals that communicate safety, because your nervous system responds constantly to subtle inputs, including your breathing patterns, your environment, and your body state. And when those inputs change, your brain begins to respond differently, even without conscious effort or control. Some people start with simple adjustments like slowing and regulating their breathing before sleep, reducing light exposure and stimulation during the night, and paying attention to sleep positioning and physical comfort, because these small changes influence the nervous system directly and can begin lowering that internal state of alertness, especially when applied consistently over time. Others choose to go a step further by supporting their system with doctor-approved natural compounds that help regulate nighttime biological signals more effectively, supporting cortisol balance and calming the nervous system without interfering with the body's natural sleep architecture and without forcing the brain into an artificial shutdown state, which allows sleep to happen in a more stable and natural way. There's one in particular that I often recommend because it's designed specifically to support this nighttime balance. It works with your system rather than against it, helping reduce that alert mode instead of suppressing it. You can find it in the pinned comment if you want to explore it, but what matters most is understanding how this support works, because the final piece involves something even more specific happening during the night. But there's something even more specific happening, something most people never stop to question because it feels too consistent to be random and too precise to be ignored once you notice it. This pattern isn't just about waking up during the night, it's about when your brain chooses to do it, and that timing reveals more than you might expect. Because the brain doesn't activate this response randomly, it follows internal biological rhythms with surprising precision. Your body operates on cycles that repeat every night, guided by your circadian rhythm and hormonal signals. And when something shifts within that system, it tends to happen at very specific windows of time, not scattered randomly across the night. There's a reason why it often happens around 3 a.m., a window where your body is undergoing subtle transitions, where cortisol begins preparing to rise toward morning levels, and where your nervous system becomes more sensitive, creating the perfect conditions for alertness to increase, even if you were previously in deep sleep. And this is where the pattern becomes predictable. And in the next video, I'm going to break down exactly what happens in that window, why your brain enters brain alert mode so precisely, what shifts between 3 and 3:30 a.m. inside your system, and how that connects directly to your cortisol rhythm and the activation of the Neural Sleep Inhibition Response in a way that most people have never been shown before. Because once you understand that timing, you begin to see your sleep differently. You stop guessing and start recognizing patterns. You understand why it keeps repeating night after night, and more importantly, what your brain is responding to, even when nothing seems wrong on the surface, which changes how you approach the entire problem. If you've been waking up at that exact time, night after night, without a clear explanation, feeling like your brain suddenly turns on for no reason and struggling to fall back asleep no matter what you try, then this next part is something you need to see, because it connects everything you've been experiencing to a specific biological trigger you can finally understand.